Right. Well, thank you everybody for being here and welcome to Liz Trew. We're so proud and excited that you agreed to join us and to share your work with us. And we thank you so much for making the time. As usual, we will begin. Liz will read for about 40 minutes, is it? Um,
Uh, it might be just under 35. Yeah.
5 to 40 minutes. And then there'll also be a bit of time for questions after the reading, if you're comfortable with that. And then we'll have a short break and come back to read at the open mic for those who are still around and who have something to read of their own work or who'd like to share the work of a poet that they would like us to all be introduced to. But keeping with the tradition, I will start with an opening poem and then I will hand it over to you. Oh, wait, I haven't read Liz's bio. Elizabeth Trew was born in Cape Town and spent many years in exile in England before returning to Johannesburg in 1991. Her poems have appeared in numerous South African poetry journals and anthologies, selections in Isis X Botsotso and Prodigal Daughters, Stories of South African Women in Exile, edited by Loreto Ngobo. Her debut collection, The Widow's House, is forthcoming. A former librarian and teacher, she language edits and helps at a shelter for girls in Cape Town. The poem that I'll be reading is by Rustam Kuzain from his collection, This Carting Life. And it's a poem called Maitland, Cape Town. Sunday morning, the heart contracts, the doldrum drops along the streets of Maitland Industria. Lone under thick hot cloud, a stalled car stands, mouth open to its owner who fiddles with a bolt, tugs at a cable. Nothing. Behind him stretches like a yawn. Industry on Sunday, sleepy mouth of the actual giant who tomorrow will swallow the whole again, everything. Now, quiet shop floors and the homeless who surrender in empty lots to nightmares and the thousand deaths of sulphurous wine. They will wake the great unseen and gather with many small deliberations, quotas of hurt that grow no more than a scream lost to the squeal of brakes, and some mid-morning train hugs a curve of a track cradling suburbia. I think of you as that man, Father, car stalled on an oily corner, while still lies this grid of tarmac, arteries of industry now calcified throughout on Sunday. And I think of this road as the same road which in so many turns may lead any reliable car northwards from this empty corner, from Johannesburg, Harare, Lusaka. And even this tar gives way at times, even as the map maker's pen falters to a dribble of potholes running dry, to score only ruts and gravel. It is all part of one piece. It is all part of one piece, one road on a map or earth northwards, north, northwest, straying now from Mogadishu, where grows as everywhere, where men hack and gouge at the earth's shoulder, the colony's bounty, stalk of rifle, the rose of grenade, but on farther, northwards to Nairobi, soon to Cairo, a bridge now over the Suez, in any car light and fast, into the desert, along the mountain road and path, and even here Pebble is part of family, of Maitland chip of tar, closer cousin to the grit lifted and dropped at the sides by traffic, crossing junctions where Baghdad and Turk mingle, in the tar and the oil stain of a parking lot cordoned by two golden arches. Here, who shall have not mercy for the giant south of which we now hesitate to look east? The ant of Quain has eaten Russia, its terrible soil mulched, its heart a clot held desolate, a bear shuddering in its gut, rolled and folded sharp, at both ends like a wolf's rib, whittled and blubbered up as bait in the industrious dollar. I don't have my reading glasses on. I'm not sure if I did that poem justice, but Elizabeth, please take it.
Well, thank you very much, Cindy, and thank you everyone for coming. This load shedding is difficult to negotiate, isn't it? So I'm very pleased to see you. I've chosen poems that are poems of the everyday, some of them, perhaps most of them, vignettes of life around me. William Carlos Williams says there is beauty in the everyday. So I've got some poems about places I've walked in, some poems about birds that I know and are around me, some poems about hands, and then I'll end with some poems remembering those that have died, those that have left us. But I'll begin with some read poems. Jacques and Ed have heard these. I think Patricia Skonstein kindly had a lunch. She gathered all read poems. I, unfortunately, was in quarantine with COVID, so I didn't go. So this one, yes, red is, of course, very powerful. It's color of our blood, it's anger, it's passion, fire, healing, and love. So, redness. By the way, can you hear me clearly? Good. Redness. Redness, not receding cool reds, but deep passion-fed bloodlines of poppy and plum and star wounds of poinsettia. Inflamed fusions of burnt orange suns, outrageous rubies on terracotta. I am wheeling revolutions through the puffed language of royals to the wail of red sirens. An exile writes about home in red ink on pages sweet as coconut milk, wet with his blood. A woman dances inside her red city, a burning voice in the arms of her windmill, a ruby tear in her navel. An orphan remembers lifting the cup to terracotta lips. She is sewing a memory cloth, joining red squares, threading cowries, bead letters, and the delicate whirl of her mother's ear. Into the spiraling dance of full-bodied redness. Not my pale thinning reds, but leaping towards the internal flame. Arrowroot of gold, the attention of love. Then red disers. Mountain pride, the brown butterfly, spies flaring reds beside the dark water. Demure virgins of the dance hall, waiting in flared skirts for a partner. He lands lightly on a petal, unrolling his tongue to sip her nectar, while she douses him with a yellow shower, before he goes on from flower to flower. I have another flower, red hibiscus, but this is a series of metaphors or images. And it's modeled on Primrose by William Carlos Williams, the imagist. And he begins his poem, yellow, 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 yellow. It is not a color, it is summer. It is the wind on a willow. etc., etc. It is a man swinging his pink fists as he walks. Right, so this is mine, red hibiscus. Oh, I refer to Time is a Mother, poems by Ocean Vuong about his mother Rose. Cindy, do you know it? Or he's the most marvelous Vietnamese poet, beautiful, quite raw. Anyway, my poem. Red is not red, but beauty behind the ear. It is petals rolled and crushed, a drink down the throat. It's a Mexican hat with a glint of green, a young flared skirt cartwheeling through the woods. It's a shirt to wear and cheer when the game is fully won. A blare from Ruby's trumpet that is loud and clear. It is dark rosy on the rocks, a blow to the belly, a catch in the breath, while 7 planet sisters encircle the dark. It is a salmon spawning, torpedoing upriver to save its fleshy life, then a peach that floats peaceful on the lake. It's a yellow bicycle unfolding down the street, 2 apricots wheeling, 1 strawberry heart. It's Bloody Mary with a kick. It's a flag that waves you down and heartbeats for more. It is Time as a Mother for every season, Ocean's Rose. It's a dark, sweet drink that slips down the throat, and beauty behind the ear. Right, so here are some places that I've been to. I love walking in wildish, out of the way places. This is at the Tswang meteorite crater near Pretoria. 220,000 years ago, a rock or meteorite crashed to Earth and made a crater. And much, much later, people mined for salt. They found salt there. And Tswang is Tswana for a place of salt. A salted star place. A rock falling from heaven crashed to earth. The earth on fire, spitting brimstone and dust, makes a cradle of ash, a crater of salt. Today's cradle flares candlebush around a salt lake, where a woman hums through the trees, makes a star with her primary class. The children, snapping milk teeth in a heat wave, drop into her calabash marula, sicklebush, red ivory, tambuti, fat purses and plumes, wings and parachute seeds. Under leaf shadow, the day's story begins. They empty her bowl by the salt water clock, open cases of seeds, rustle notes on the stones, catching a glimpse of themselves in a salted star place. And this is a child looking up at the night sky. She's looking at the constellation of stars called the Pleiades. Also popularly known as the Seven Sisters, which stems from the lovely Greek story, the Greek myth. Pleiades. The full moon tonight travels across Earth, quenching the light of stars. From a dark place, a child gazing up with her naked eye can see 7 sisters, 7 gold nuggets fixed in their universe. Their middle-aged constellation of bones burn and shine light years away. 7 daughters and wives reflect their light among hundreds of unseen sisters, among clusters of dying stars and a galaxy of newborns in their nursery, stars the child does not yet see. Behind each of the 7 sisters are hundreds of stars, which we can't see. Okay. Another place. This is the site of an uprooted village near Simonstown. The Luola village, which was in 1896, it was founded, to 1964. It's a legacy of our shameful past. The land recalls a wounded history. Families uprooted in the kloof above Long Beach. Their village removed by force. Calls inside rows of small houses, doors open to the sea. Singers at weddings, in church and primary school. Murmurs of workers returning at dusk. Gale force winds whistle and keen, snatch my hat in an overcast sky as I scramble up rock lodged in sand between bush and burnt trees. Nothing of church, school, or house on the empty terraces, but buried in sand, a child's shoe, old bottles and spoons, buttons and bullets. High on the slope, there's a splash of new red, a candelabra in flower, rooted in sand. And I'm happy to know that the descendants, under much pressure, are now claiming the land, reclaiming the land. This is near my home, Lion's Head, which if you know Cape Town, you'll know it, a small cone mountain, which I climb now and then. It's become hugely popular. You came from the sea, ancient lion, and became the most visited mountain on the land. Pilgrims come near and far to tramp through your bushy mane towards your famous head, toppling at times to their perilous descent. And by night, when the moon is full, head torches nodding, they haul themselves up to your golden face. Bitten by winds and sun, you bask in rain and meditate in cloud for a little peace. Insects and mice tickle your ears, while lizards practice push-ups on your head. Here you remain, steady as a rock, gazing down while fire burns your necklace of earth, leaving charred animals and plants in its wake. Lionhead, tough and gentle, all accepting and embraced. And the last one about places where I walked. Thoughts while walking. This is in Silvermine Nature Reserve, if you know Cape Town, on the Cape Peninsula. I think of you between winter rains while striding along weathered stone shaped by millions of years. Pools of rain welled on a giant's backbone, polar wind over the ridge biting my cheeks, shafts of light breaking through massing cloud. A cave scoured into rock, the elephant's eye. A raptor's dark shape circles the sky, a living dinosaur seeking prey below. Slopes of proteas opening and ending their season. Streams underground, waterfalls above, smoke in a field below, someone burning undergrowth. Fires and tremors rise and fall across our suffering globe, while a billionaire and crew in flight reach the edge of space and human history. I think of you opening to earth and sky of our natural world and human sea. So the you, I had no one specific in mind. I think it might be all of us. I see Douglas, and he kindly printed this in stanzas, and the others. Right, so now I come to birds. I have a few. This one was in stanzas. It's quite coffee stained. It's very close to my house. Good morning, Hardadars. Cloud has come down over Lion's Head, almost to my gate. Children in their class across the road chant high and sweet. The farmer takes a wife, the farmer takes a wife. Two courting Hardadars rustle near the path with clacking beaks and courtship purrs as I brush past the gooseberry bush with a pile of papers, the news of the world ready to be dumped and then recycled. Good morning, Hardadars. Good morning, Hardadars. Are you well? And this one is at the back of my house. The laughing dove. The smallest one nests among new leaves of my vine, turns slowly clockwise, nudging her warmth around her careful egg, turning her folded wings, her cinnamon back, her white-tipped tail, keeps always the growing embryo against her breast, unshaken by the howling gale, the piercing drill next door, or the glare of my light at night. And the last one about birds. This one's slightly further than my house. Well, it begins slightly further than my house. Today with birds and wind. Calm wind in the forest this morning. I heard a cuckoo, shy bird hidden in the trees. Its mellow saxophone notes between a sunbird's high twittering, a thrush's sharp chink, and the starling's musical whistle. Strong southeaster at home this afternoon brought thousands of blossoms from the tree through my open door, with 4 doves chased by the neighbour's cat. Frantic winds flew round the kitchen, banging and beating against the glass panes, sending my blue plate crashing. They could find the way out except one. In my hands, the terrified bird screamed like a child. So I come on to poems about hands. Hands have an expressive language of their own, and we use them every day for what work we do. I find them fascinating to watch. Here are my grandmother's hands. Farmor is father's mother in Norwegian. Grandmother Helen's hands were soft and white, spotted brown from African sun. Hands to crochet long colored strips she'd stitched together, bright covers for family beds. Hands to carry her work bag of wool, hands to smooth huge feathered hats, hands to shuffle visiting cards, hands that played an upright piano. She'd sit at the foot of my bed, plying her wool with her crochet hook, and sing sharply her favorite song to me. Count your blessings, count them one by one. Farmor Karen's hands were strong and red, used to shoveling Nordic snow. Hands to tend rows of raspberry canes, hands to dig and plant and harvest potatoes, hands to bake bread, light fires, feed the pig, and hold a farmer's crook to drive sheep up to their summer pasture. Hands that tied her headscarf tight. On a visit to the family theatre, I placed fresh flowers upon her grave and ceremonially watered them. Family say I am like her. And these are my hands. The feel of hands. These unfeeling, unknowable, blind white hands live in peril without a scruple. Until I hold a baby's fists budding to open and touch her tender hands that are full of good things, and bury my cold hand in the warmth of yours. These workaday porcelain hands that flare up and wake me at night, each identical to the other, yet different, carry their own hosts. I bring them together with finger joints touching to feel each one. I bow my head and tell myself again and again what they can hold. And this is a meeting of hands. This is in Norway. A meeting of hands. He was standing outside the farmhouse as I walked towards him. Blonde haystack hair, face deeply sunburned, head tilted, blue squint eyes staring, waiting and listening to meet me, the cousin from overseas. He reached for my hand that slipped, cold and limp as a fish, into his warm, fleshy fingers and palm. Why you have no feeling, His hand shook mine almost fiercely. Why could I not respond to his warmth? Learning then how my hand could be hurtful. Could he sense shock in my hand or fear in my eyes? For he didn't have eyes to see. As he held my hand tight as a bandage while we walked along, hearing water lapping quietly beside us, our feet shushing through the grass. Okay, now I come to poems remembering some people who have left us. This one is four small poems, which I call leavings. Potter. She is crafting something new out of the clay on her potter's wheel. Some ghost of her past curled into a ball. Using water to soften, it ripples its skin in time with the hum. A small death of yesterday taking residence today. Mother. I remember your meaty breath on my face as you bent down with a kiss. As I lean over to inhale your last yeasty breaths, to savor, exhale, and kiss the sky. Child. The woman consoled and held her. I don't know where to be, a mother cries out in shattered grief. All she can see are her tears in a leaden sky. She will find somewhere to pave her daughter's lyrical step in the rustle of leaves and sound of bells. Painter. I will paint my old friend in somber colors, lying on his bitter green robe of grass, with a harsh white cloth over his face, and his rooster in radiant shades of cinnabar, the earth brown and the bluish-green rhythm of hills gently receding. And this one is in memory of Cornelia Rhodey, a very close friend of mine. Those of you who probably know her from Off the Wall and Temenos, the McGregor Poetry Festival. She died several years ago. Candy, in memory. Others will speak of her grace while practicing Tai Chi, arms reaching into her colorful world, and the friends gathered at her festive table, the poems opening the bloom of her words, her mellifluous voice and humorous tongue. And I will speak of her heedful walk through the gardens of Temenos, noticing the stones, flowers, and trees. How her small grandchildren hugged her close until it was time to go. And the photo she sent from her mobile, her last bathe in the blue Bahamas, entering completely the welcoming sea. I'm coming nearing the end. This is Kramat. Kramat is a Muslim holy burial site. This one is just below Lion's Head. And I walk past it now and then. Aulia is Arabic for friend and protector. Kramat. Wildflowers and stones on the Lion's Hill, excuse me, and a Kramat, one of 5 holy sites encircling, protecting the mother city. In memory of Aulias to Allah, who passed their faith to slaves at the Cape. Bring your gifts to all each day and make every day your last. Inside the square white building, I inhale sweet incense burning in a room of peace. Outside, a gardener tends beds of daylilies and African iris, while a painter on his ladder repaints a wall. Stepping from stone to stone of the lion's backbone, I come to your place. Remember you in your circle. Today, purple gorse and a kestrel in flight. So, in fact, the last one, I think it would be quite nice to end on this. This is in Freedom Park, Pretoria. I don't know if anyone knows it. It's a very artful, beautiful park laid out in commemoration of the fallen heroes. Those who died in the struggle. It also has a very good museum, about a hands-on museum about the fires of creation, how the world was formed, Africa was made, etc. I call it acts and monuments because there are many monuments dotted about. I don't know if you can see how I've laid it out. It's side by side, acts and monuments. So they're one and the same thing. People past and people living as they walk around and look. Acts and monuments. People on the hill, hillsides of ironstone, bolts of inner lightning, fires of creation, pathways of peace, acacias with nesting birds, flame of unnamed heroes, wall of named heroes, heartbeats of the struggle, memories of healing, yields of grass opening, African olive, sanctuary of rest, silences by candlelight, groundswell of the living, waves of youths and elders, towers of reeds ascending, spirit of Ubuntu. I think it's a nice place to end. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Can everybody please unmute yourself so we can give Liz a big round of applause? Thank you, everyone. And thank you for that incredible reading, Liz. I haven't had the pleasure of ever hearing you read, and I haven't read enough of your work, but tonight was a wonderful introduction to your work for me. And I look forward to following your writing and catching up on everything I've missed out on. So I would like to open up for a Q&A if you're comfortable with that. And if anybody would like to either ask questions or a comment, the floor is open. Doug, please take it away.
I believe there are 3 kramats in Cape Town, and there are 3 Muslim saints.